Hey, everybody, welcome back to After Poured, giving you an inside look at Poured in PA, the series, which is now live on Amazon Prime. Today, we are talking about episode 2, which covers all kinds of great things happening in our state capital, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I am joined once again by none other than executive producer Nate Kresge to talk about the show. What's up, Nate?
How's it going? Cheers.
Welcome back. Glad to have you here to once again rap about the production of the show.
Yeah.
So as we learned, and if you haven't watched yet, you need to jump over to Amazon Prime right now. The first 5 episodes of the Poured in PA series are live for you to consume, as well as the movie, which we have mentioned before back on episode 1. And if you haven't checked out any of this stuff, Nate and his crew do a fantastic job capturing what is happening in the Pennsylvania beer scene. And this show is taking you behind the scenes of the production of the movie and giving you an opportunity to meet some of the personalities that show up in the series. So, Nate, let's talk about Harrisburg Beer Week and everything that was going on down in Harrisburg as you guys were capturing this. Tell us about what it was like to capture everything for the series.
Yeah, it's kind of a it's an easier one for us to do because it's in our backyard, but it's also a lot of work because there's a lot going on and a lot for us to cover. So, and our guys also like to enjoy a beer or two while they're doing these, so that always makes things interesting. But every year when Beer Week rolls around, we block out those dates and we kind of divvy up the different events and see who's going to cover what. And usually there's at least one of us at all the signature events, and sometimes there's 2 or 3 of us at them. We're just running around with cameras trying to capture interviews and talk to people and see what they're enjoying, check out the beer. And you often will see our guys running around with the camera in one hand and the beer in the other, and we're checking it out just with everybody else as long as camera's still steady,
Now, when you guys are shooting events and basically anything that you're doing involving Beer Week or whatever it may be, do you go into these things with a list of shots and things that you want to capture, or do you guys just shoot as much footage as possible and sort it all out when it's all over?
Yeah, our basic way of doing almost any story is tackling those interviews first and making sure we get some solid interviews. And then from that, we can kind of see, all right, and forgive me if people aren't familiar, B-roll is all the footage that we use to cut into those interviews. And so we'll shoot those interviews, we'll see what B-roll that we need, and we'll run around and try to get all the shots that fit what somebody was talking about. And, we always know there are specific shots that we always need. We always want to see beer being poured. We always want to see people enjoying beer. We always want to see smiling faces. Those things work for pretty much any story we're doing. But, depending on the event, with Harrisburg Beer Week, they always do a great check presentation to River Rescue. I'm sure we'll talk about that more later. Things like that. There are key moments at the Battle of the Homebrewers. We want to see that trophy being handed off to the winners and things like that.
Yeah, that was a really cool thing that we saw in episode 2 was how each year as Beer Week has evolved, more money has been raised for Harrisburg River Rescue, and that's where that is the biggest benefactor of Beer Week. So it's so cool to see how beer has not only brought everybody together and stimulated the area and the economy and the local beer scene, but also given back to a great cause at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's part of why Harrisburg Beer Week does so well. Is it's not, you don't feel like somebody's in it for just making a buck here. You are supporting an organization that's worthwhile, and hey, knock on wood, hope we never have to use them, but they are there helping the community that is there enjoying these events.
Now, another part of episode 2 that you guys covered was a business called The Vegetable Hunter. Now, is that Harrisburg Direct, or is that?
That is
okay.
That is downtown Harrisburg, right there on 2nd Street.
Awesome. So I've never had a vegan beer personally. So tell us, what's it take? I guess the best way is to compare it to your typical beers.
Yeah, for the most part, most beer is vegan, but you do run into things now. We're putting lactose in beer. We're putting different ingredients. Sheets just put out their hot dog beer, so that definitely would be a no on the list here with these guys. And they found cool ways to get around using lactose or some of the other things that might end up in a beer, making it not honey. They won't use any honey, and they'll use other sweeteners, things like that. And so they try to be creative with what they're doing, and the food there is fantastic too. And I think a lot of times breweries find a clientele based not just on their beer but on their food too. So it's a cool pairing for people that may be vegan. They can feel very comfortable there and enjoy some really great beer and food.
Have did they tell you guys about any other, I don't want to call them rival businesses, but similar businesses, not necessarily in Harrisburg, but across the state or across the country?
At the time, they didn't know of any other that were doing this. I'm sure there probably are. I mean, there's other vegan restaurants, but they mentioned even in the story how, when bands come into play in Harrisburg or Hershey that may have, an artist that's all vegan, they will send them, to Harrisburg to pick up food and bring it back. And that's a half an hour, if not more, trip for them to do just because they are one of the few all vegan restaurants in the area.
Very cool. And you guys also covered RX here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the only gluten-free brewery in Pittsburgh, and those guys do some awesome beer. So
I think they're the only gluten-free in Pennsylvania.
I think you're right.
One of the few in the country. A lot of places will do a gluten-free beer, but not all gluten-free. That's kind of an anomaly there.
Yeah, I've done a tour through there and got to hear about their processes, and it's pretty cool. I mean, obviously they have to take a lot of extra steps and extra precautions. What was something that you took away from your experience filming up there?
Well, one of the things I thought about there and didn't realize is it's not just their process there, but they got to figure out the whole supply chain of their beer. They can't just throw their beer on a regular tap at a brewery, or at a bar that may have just kicked the keg and they're going to throw on a gluten-free beer. It doesn't work that way. So they have to, if they're going to have a line on a bar, there has to be a dedicated line so that things aren't being commingled there. And so a lot of canning, and by what they're doing a great job of getting the cans out. And I don't have any issues there, but should I? It's such a great alternative. It's almost like you wouldn't even realize that you're missing out on something.
Yeah, they've really knocked it out of the park, and they've grown tremendously in regards to the brand recognition, and obviously now their beer is getting into outside of the PA borders, which is great to hear. So always good things happening there. So you can learn all about everything Nate and I just talked about on episode 2 of Poured in PA, the series, again live on Amazon Prime. As you watch this right now, the first 5 episodes of the series are live, as well as the full-length documentary. So there's plenty of great Pennsylvania beer information for you to consume over at Amazon Prime. Nate, before we move on, anything that you want to throw in about episode 2 that you think we should all know about?
Well, I love, and we were talking about Vegetable Hunter and RX there. I just love the innovation of breweries. And I think these are 2 examples of how breweries have stepped up to the plate and always thinking ahead and thinking how they can change things. And obviously right now, with everything that's going on, we're seeing a lot more of that. And we're going to try to cover that, beyond these 5 episodes of how breweries are adapting and changing. But, here are 2 situations where people, trying to figure out something new and they're doing a killer job of it.
All right. Well, again, episode 2 is live for you guys to check out. You can jump over to Amazon Prime and do that. But before you do, stay with us. We're going to come back with segment 2. We're going to be joined by Tony Reigle of Harrisburg River Rescue and Sara Bozich, who is one of the figureheads behind Harrisburg Beer Week and also a producer with Poured in Pennsylvania. So great stuff coming at you guys in segment 2. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Philadelphia,
Pittsburgh,
Lancaster County,
York County, Washington County,
Hershey, Elizabethtown, Carlisle, Harrisburg.
Like, bruh, let me explain the concept of beer festival.
We're always creative in the beer and the products that we make, but we can be creative in business too. We don't just have to be creative in beer.
Collaboration is so fun and it's so exciting. Most beautiful things come out of collaboration.
It's the camaraderie that you see with our breweries. They do not compete against each other. They compete together.
Everything about the podcast is about collaboration. It's about, you doing something good. I have a platform. We talk about what you do because I rocks with it.
There are just some occasions that call for a beer, and that can't be replaced.
All right, welcome back to After Poured. It's an inside, behind-the-scenes look at Poured in Pennsylvania, the series. Live on Amazon Prime. You can catch the first 5 episodes now. I'm back for segment 2 with Nate Kresge, the producer. We spoke earlier. You got to go know Nate a little bit in the first segment. I'm also joined by Sara Bozich, who is a producer on the film as well, and Tony Reigle of Harrisburg River Rescue. As you learned, if you watched episode 2 of Poured in PA, all of the proceeds of Harrisburg Beer Week go directly to Harrisburg River Rescue, which is a great cause, and we're going to learn more about that here in segment 2. So, Tony and Sara, welcome to After Poured.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Glad you guys could join the show. I'm going to throw this out to all 3 of you because you are in the Harrisburg community and obviously a very big part of that. How has Harrisburg Beer Week evolved over the past 5 years? As we learned in episode 2, you guys had done, Harrisburg Beer Week year 5 in 2019, and 2020 would have been number 6, but we all know what happened there. So tell us about the evolution of Beer Week over those 5 years.
Well, I'll go ahead and lead off with that. As one of the founders, the first year, we really didn't know what we were doing. We had an idea, and we had some boxes we wanted to be sure that we checked, including being a charitable organization, which is how we became connected with Tony and Harrisburg River Rescue and Emergency Services. We wanted to connect with the homebrew community, which is why we have Battle of the Homebrewers. And we wanted to do a different sort of festival, which is how we ended up doing Little Big Beer Fest. The concept was to do a smaller beer fest with bigger beers, all above 8%. A lot of the beer fests we had seen previously in the area were very, a lot of times wholesaler driven. And there were fewer local breweries at the time. And so this was a chance to really connect with our local breweries, but also allow them the chance to make something different or highlight something that maybe wasn't getting as much attention. And I don't recall off the top of my head how much we gave in year 1, but in year 2, we doubled our donation. And it really has grown ever since. We've had a wonderful community of breweries in this area that have wanted to get on board. Harrisburg's kind of we always joke it's a kind of a misnomer. It's about the greater Harrisburg area, and breweries as far as Elizabethtown, Hershey, Carlisle, all have been really integral in creating it and having it grow to be what it has been. I'm losing track here. Tony, you tell us.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I met with the ladies, I remember sitting down with them, I believe it was a Sturgis or the Speakeasy. Yeah. And when I took it back to the organization to kind of let them know the whole idea behind it, it was, what does beer and boating have to do with each other? And there's a lot of concerns, because most of the things that we talk about is boating safely and making sure that we're enjoying those. And so I think one of the biggest things that have evolved over the years is realizing it's bigger than that. It's really a group of folks that are passionate about this area and just kind of joining that passion and making it a better area. And so seeing the support grow is one of the biggest things I've seen evolve. I think that first year we were a little sheepish, kind of off to our tables, but seeing people year after year, seeing them in the community throughout the year has been phenomenal. And the relationships is really what has grown. And I think it's really made the local area a tighter knit community.
So obviously we're living in crazy times right now as we sit and talk this evening. What's life been like for you guys over at River Rescue, Tony, with all the craziness in the world with the coronavirus pandemic going down?
I think with everybody's probably going through the similar thing. It's just kind of adapting to try to make it work. And so what we do has an inherent level of danger no matter what day or what's kind of going on. And this is just a new obstacle for us to make sure that we're making that we're keeping our members safe And so we're following same protocols as most. We've virtual. We've kind of limited our face-to-face. So operationally, it hasn't had a huge impact. We're busy. I think as the boating season is coming upon us, it's getting warmer. People have been pent up a little bit longer this year leading into this. So I'm hopeful it doesn't have a significant impact on an increase of what we see this year. But I know that so far we've already started to get busy. But outside of that, it's finding creative ways to make sure we stay trained. It's financially is probably where we're going to feel it the largest, because, as nonprofits, 100% volunteer, fundraising is our lifeblood. And so, we had some community events, Memorial Day, that we probably the first time in 30 years that we weren't able to have that event. And so it's things like that we see that are a little different, but as an organization, we're staying close, we're staying in touch, we're seeing each other on calls and missions. We're putting together our own kind of virtual teams to make sure everybody's okay. And so we're weathering the storm.
All right, guys.
Tony,
go ahead, Nate.
Jumping in here, Jason. Tony, how can people support you? I know a lot of people that watched the episode here about Beer Week and learned a little bit what you guys do, but also have seen how you guys have been supported by Beer Week, and knowing that didn't happen this year. What can people do to help you?
So, we have a rolling donation link right there on our webpage, www.harrisburgrescue.org. So anytime anyone feels that they can support us, that's going to be helpful for us. We have some cool swag that we've had on that we've, over the years of Beer Week, have kind of motivated us to add some different things throughout the year. So we started with the koozies, and then we were able to add some company t-shirts 2 years ago, or maybe last year we added the cooler, which I think is pretty cool. And then
the koozies are cool too. They're the life preserver, or not life preserver.
Life preserver, life jackets.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, for sure. So we have those. Those are a staple. We added some t-shirts. Again, last year we added the day cooler, which is pretty awesome. And then this year we were excited to launch. We kind of did it's a 2-in-1 tumbler that's you can either use for coffee or adult beverages, or also as a can or bottle keeper. So we launched that this year. We did it virtually. We've had some success with it. It is still all that's on our website, and they are thank you gifts for donations. So you offer a donation of various amounts, and then we'll send you one of our company swag as a thank you. And then, as things around us start improving and some restrictions start decreasing, we're hopeful that we're able to start doing some events. And so we can always stay in tune with our Facebook page and our website to see what kind of events are coming up, so that we can get back out there and start seeing folks.
Right.
Excellent. So you guys have 5 years worth of Harrisburg Beer Weeks under your belt. I'm going to go around the horn here. What is your favorite memory from all 5? And I mean, if you could pick one thing from the entire evolution of Beer Week in Harrisburg, what would it be?
Wow.
That's wow.
You come on the show, you get challenged, guys.
I'll jump in here quick, and I'll after you guys talk, I'll probably have more things to say, I'm going to guess. But for me, it's always been the just coming together with everybody in town. So it's, there's this weird, you just realize this week's going to be fun. You realize this week you're probably going to be hungover at one point or another. And everybody's just happy. They're having a good time. And everybody's, you're not worried about politics. You're not worried about what's going on in the world. You're there for beer. You're there to hang out with people, and everybody just kind of lets their guard down. That's really nice.
Nate's really on point with that. It really is a week that we have a really great community of supporters who've been around since year 1 or maybe year 2 or even 3, but they've really got into it. They bought tickets to multiple things. They get to know us. We talk to them at the door. We hear about it afterwards. And there really is this sort of air of it's going to be a good time. I would say, I don't know that I can do one moment. I think that would be impossible. I have always loved our check presentations have been really meaningful. We never tell Tony in advance what we're going to give them. So it's been really cool we get this silly giant check from the print shop and we make them go through the whole process of unwrapping it. And that has been really special. Second to that is just our signature events are incredible. Our VIP party, started out as a thank you event and continues as that, but it really, gained some momentum, and seeing these industry people come together and, as Nate said, put their guards down. We see brewers hanging out with brewers. That true sense of community is really visible at those events. And then the Battle of the Home Brewers, which we did the last 2 years at Broad Street Market in Midtown Harrisburg. And it's just such a cool vibe. We rent this enormous tent and we have like a line out the door, people waiting to get in. And it's all of the Midtown community. It's the vendors from the market are there. The people who live in Midtown are attending this event. If they're not even necessarily, beer people, maybe they're new to beer or just saw that this was happening. And the home brewers are so impassioned and having so much fun sharing what they made with people that it's just like one of the most upbeat vibes of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to add anything new here. I mean, I think it's times like these when you don't have things in your life that, you look back and you reflect on the things you value. And, over 5 going on 6 years, you miss people that sometimes we interact throughout the year. Sara has included us in many events of our own that were outside of Beer Week throughout the year. And we always look forward to those. Nate, I've seen in between, events and Beer Week itself. And so you develop these relationships that, just come out of kind of nowhere. And so when they're, when you're not able to kind of have those things, these folks hold a place in our heart for sure. I've not been shy to say that, I don't know if we'd be thriving and sustaining what we're able to do if Beer Week didn't come around into our lives 6 years ago. And so, that's important. So seeing folks is something that always kind of stands out. Seeing the excitement for me of brewers at certain events coming up with their own ideas for raffles. I mean, I think is just, they're kind of like kids, how excited they get for raffling off posters or raffling off specific series of, specialized cannings or something. And all those proceeds go directly to us. They're doing nothing more than trying to support an organization. And we probably wouldn't have crossed paths outside of this. And so seeing that, really makes us feel good. And those relationships are long lasting.
Yeah, you guys definitely have had a great thing going down there. Man, I could tell I could do some real damage at that little big beer fest. It's a shame that
people do.
A lot of people do.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's Uber ride back to the GK Visual Studio, a must.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Well, before we wrap up, I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on the fact that obviously things are changing and we know we're not going to have any of the great beer festivals that we've grown accustomed to in the near future. What do you think all of these changes due to the pandemic are going to do to beer weeks and beer festivals across the country going forward?
Unfortunately, I think it's a little early to tell, but I've been saying it for a while now, and I think people are probably don't love me saying it, but I do think we're going to see a bit of a culture shift away from large-scale events like that. I just don't know that that's what people are going to be comfortable doing until, I think for a while. I just think that this, while people are stir crazy now and itching to get out, I think that there's going to be overall a return to home a little bit. It wasn't like we've been doing, events have been king now for the last few years, which is awesome, especially for me as an event planner. But it wasn't always like this. I have been a food and drink writer for almost 20 years. And like in the beginning, there was nothing happening. People weren't doing things and having events, and not because there'd been a pandemic, but just wasn't what the culture was doing at the time. So I think that we're going to see a shift, I think, in the, most immediate future for sure. But what I think has is really cool is the opportunity for people to innovate and come up with the next thing that people can do to fundraise, to have fun, to enjoy breweries, to learn new things. And we're seeing that, now with the way that breweries are finding the needs to shift how they do business and get beer into people's hands. So I don't know what the answer is, but I am excited to see what is next.
Nate, anything to add to that?
No, I think Sarah hit it there, and I think it's going to take a while for people to feel comfortable, and to do different things. And it's slow. We just need to take all this slowly and figure it out together.
Absolutely right. Well, I'm looking forward to the day where all of us can sit down and have a beer together in the same room. That's going to be fun. But Tony and Sarah and Nate, thank you very much for coming on to After Poured. This is all about episode 2. You are now tasked with the mission, if you haven't done so already, to head over to Amazon Prime and check out the first 5 episodes of Poured in PA, the series. Nate, one more time, give us a little bit of background as to why people should be going to check that out as soon as they turn on this video.
Yeah, especially if you've seen the film. So if you haven't seen the film, you can even go back a little bit farther there and check out our documentary. It's a 90-minute piece on kind of everything Pennsylvania has to offer in beer. The series, though, picks up where that left off, and it dives a little deeper into these great stories that we couldn't tell in a film. So we're meeting with people who just enjoy beer, who live beer and work in the beer industry, and not just seeing their breweries, but we're seeing events that they hold and different fundraisers that they do, and even bringing their dogs to breweries. We dive into stuff like that. So a lot more human interest here, and if you aren't a huge beer fan, I think you'll find some here that you'll find interesting.
Right on. All right, guys. Again, thank you very much for taking some time, and really enjoyed episode 2. And for everybody watching, you can go check out all 5 episodes, as we said before, on Amazon Prime, and you can come right back here next week for episode 3 of After Poured. We'll see you guys then. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.